Cool beans. Welcome back to the Movie World Marathon. I'm Andrew. That's Mac. We're in a rush because we got lots to talk about. We're in a new marathon today. We're starting off the Pirates of the Caribbean. This is very exciting. Mac's got notes. I've got notes. I almost never have notes. This is and we're also we're rearing to go because the recording didn't work last week. So we're trying to bring back the hype because we were so hyped and we got cut off at the knees. It was really unfortunate. I know. It was so exciting. I hope we can bring back that passion. So anyway, yes, Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, directed by Gore Verbinski. Get away from my tea. Sorry, that's the dog. Came out July 9, 2003. It is starring, of course, Johnny Depp, Keira Knightley, Orlando Bloom, Joffrey Rush as Hector Barbossa, Zoe Saldana for some reason, which we mentioned last time, which we'll talk about again. Jack Davenport.
All the nerd cred.
I know.
She has all the franchises.
All of them. Jack Davenport as James Norrington, Jonathan Pryce as the governor, and we got Kevin McNally as Gibbs, and Mackenzie Crook as Ragetti, and Lee Ehrenberg as Pentel. Gotta mention them because, they're in all of them.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Although I will say I did not know their names until I was like, I need to write down the names of these characters.
I can never understand anytime anyone addresses them, I never know. I've never known their names. Barbossa, I think, is the only one that actually says their names a couple of times in the movies, and I still never know what he's saying. Huh. Jack refers to one as the weirdo with the wooden eye and the homunculus. That's the only thing. Not in this movie. That's later. Anyway, Curse of the Black Pearl. Man. I love this movie. You had a lot to say last week, and I want you to. We're gonna have to revisit some of this again, which is unfortunate. So, but
it's fine.
Thoughts? Here we go. New franchise, new marathon. What are we feeling?
These films are so fantastic, and there's things to talk about in terms of critique. There are things that we might want to address, but I walk away from, especially these first two, just grinning, man. I love these movies. I feel like, although we made this point last time, I think we should make it again because it's really important. You really don't get it the first time you watch it.
No, not at all.
You have to rewatch it. And you kind of have to rewatch the entire thing. You don't really truly get it until you've seen all three of the first trilogy.
Layered. And it's incredibly layered. It's really impressive for a movie based on a theme park ride. It's incredible.
And the fact that it's a movie based on a theme park ride about pirates, and they somehow managed to make Elizabeth Swann the primary protagonist. Obviously, the one they market is Jack, right? Everyone knows Captain Jack Sparrow. He's got the most maybe iconic character of the franchise. But if you're watching the protagonist and character arc and growth,
right, it's
really Elizabeth.
Yeah, with a little bit of Will, but it's really.
Thing.
And if you want to look at the trilogy as a whole, it's hardcore Elizabeth. It really is. Which we can't talk about too much yet, but that'll be really fun in 2 weeks. But also, we open with Elizabeth, technically. She's our introductory character singing the pirate song, which is really fun. I did make a note here, which is kind of cool, given who they promote and all that Jack doesn't come into it until a little bit later. One of the best movie entrances ever. Just ever. For him to be standing up on the top of his ship, just rolling in. We see it from the back first, just to cut to it not being a great, big, awesome, wonderful pirate ship, but to be a dinghy that is also sinking. And then he brings it back by riding in as it sinks. That's fantastic. I love that sequence so much. Ugh.
It's such a subversion of the expectations, because everyone knows the opening of you open with a guy on the mast and then you pan out and there's this great big ship, and instead we have this tiny little itty bitty thing, which is what you were saying. But they immediately undercut him by doing that, right? He's not on a big ship. But then they kind of build him back up by the fact that he has perfectly timed his arrival at the dock.
Oh, so good.
When he arrives, casually strides on. This is the most normal thing in the world for him.
Yeah, this is just a Tuesday. You know how many ships I sink in my spare time?
He bribes the dock master guy. I don't know what his job's name would be, and then immediately steals from him. So he comes away from the transaction richer.
Of course.
And obviously, he's not coming back for the boat.
Take what you can. Give nothing back.
It's so good. Although I do think we kind of skipped the Elizabeth bit a little bit. I think the fact that the film opens with her singing the pirate song. Yep. No, not a problem. Just like it opens with her singing the pirate song. She is not a pirate. She's just like a nerdy reading child who has decided that pirates are her hyperfixation. And she is the one who like spots that Will has the pirate medallion and recognizes it for what it is, realizes the consequences, takes it. I like to think that the film is cut so specifically in the beginning because it goes straight from that sequence to her picking it up out of the drawer, and it looks like it hasn't moved in years. I think this is the first time she's put it on in a really long time. Yeah. Maybe since she like became a quote unquote adult, right? And like the fact that it jumps straight from her interaction with it the first time and then to her putting it on the next time, and then like of course everything only really happens because Elizabeth is the one like doing these things. It's so cool how it all kind of spins around her, even though there's so much going on in the film. If she wasn't there with her curiosity about pirates and her interest in Will, the story would not happen. And
I think there's also an argument to be made that like there's like a magical force that is acting on this world just a tad. Like they never really acknowledge that except for Tia Dama, who references like destiny, but like we never actually play with destiny. But like she only puts it on because of that dream. So I think there's some sort of magic that is because like Jack's in town, Elizabeth and Will are now, you know, like adults. They can engage in this crazy adventure. It's been 10 years. I don't know. I think there's some magic afoot causing all this, kicking this off.
We actually probably should talk. Do we want to do full trilogy spoilers for this conversation because of how connected everything is?
We don't typically. If we go by the rules, especially for like podcast episode rules, we have to talk about all the connections when we get to the end, which is so frustrating.
Okay, well then I won't say, like we were saying, you kind of have to watch this whole trilogy in order to appreciate the artistry in every single film, because in the beginning scene that we've already talked about, there's already some thematic stuff going on that if I were to talk about would spoil things from like the third film. So I won't, but there's
we'll come back to it. We'll come back to it.
Going on. Yeah. We'll come back to it.
Yes, okay. The opening is great. We get introduced to Will. He's a blacksmith now. He's doing things. I'm fairly confident in saying that the part where he rips a lamp off the wall was not scripted. That was an accident, and he just kind of ran with it. I hope that's true. I did not fact check it.
So funny.
It's so great. It's also that's actually the only thing that makes me think it's not. Yeah, the only thing that makes me think it's not like an improvised thing is how loud it is. It's so perfectly loud. The echo that metal makes when he rips it off the wall. Ugh, anxiety. Anyway, gives him the sword. That's great. Introducing him as an artist and a skilled artist and an unappreciated skilled artist. Great acting. Orlando's killing it. Love all that. Quick side note, we have to say it. Everyone says it. We can't not say it. Fastest goatee that's ever grown. Ever. There's not a hair on that 13-year-old boy's face when he gives them the sword. And in the 30-minute walk back to the blacksmith, he grows a 21-year-old's goatee. What the hell, man? Like, it's why? It's strange.
When your father is a pirate, you can do.
When we meet his father, he has no facial hair. He's got a starfish. Anyway, that's later. Anyway. Yes, so the Commodore ceremony is all good and fine, and the corset sequence, the greater corset sequence. I mean, like the first part, Elizabeth gets the present, all that. Whatever. My favorite moment until Elizabeth falls off the cliff. That sounds weird. Is Jack talking to the guards, because it lays out so much. We're getting the first little hints of his greater plan. He's feeling out like the possibility of things, and the dialogue of like, unless you knew you wouldn't believe the truth, even if he told it to you. Like, when you watch this as like a 10-year-old and you pay attention, you are so confused because you just I couldn't keep up with him. I was always just befuddled, and it's fantastic. Ugh.
I didn't watch these till like a little bit older, like not crazy. I was in high school or something. But even then, I found the dialogue to be a little bit dizzying. But it's
Uh-huh.
not so confusing that you can't get it. It's just like so much else in the film. The
Right.
second or third time you go back to it, the more you value it and appreciate it. Because really, the dialogue in these films, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I actually make more direct connections later. So another thing to put a pin in and come back to later. But these films are, I would argue, Shakespearean in style because of how rhythmic the way the characters talk is. There are ways that it matches sort of like the world building that Shakespeare tends to do. That more on that in later films. And I think the character archetypes are the types that you would find in a Shakespeare play. It's kind of crazy and extremely nerdy, so I won't dive too far into that, but just I think this is the closest we've come to modern day Shakespeare,
Nice.
which is crazy.
Pirates of the Caribbean, man. I don't entirely disagree. My thought was with my not as English background was like this is our generation's Indiana Jones, just a perfect. And you didn't love Indiana Jones, but like hear me out. It is the perfect quintessential adventure movie. It's like
Yeah.
both this one and the next one, which we'll talk about a little bit more, of course, when we do the next one. It's like a checklist in the best way of the things you would do as a kid in your backyard and your crazy imaginative adventures. We've got just everything. We've got ghost pirates. We've got ship battles. We've got crazy sword battles. We've got zombie monkeys. We've got treasure. We've got walking the plank. Everything, and they just amp it up in the next two. But it's just yes, it's wonderfully written, and the layers are great. But it's also just a fantastic adventure. Just all
It's
of it.
fun.
It's so
It's so
fun.
fun.
It is funny. It is cool. It is spooky. I do think, with a few exceptions, the tone is balanced really well with like the weird mystical adventure that just kind of blankets this world. Like everyone kind of stays within a tone for the most part, except for Jack, who ebbs and flows, and so it works for him. Love that. Love all that. So yeah, Elizabeth falls off the cliff. Awesome sequence because it sets up really early the lack of ambiguity really in Jack's character. Because I mean, we find out throughout the movies how he's always really a step ahead, and he's kind of playing that he's a cad, if you will, but he is just a good guy right away. But I love so much, for so many reasons, the shot of her falling cuts to him talking to them, and they're just like leaning on their hand, like listening to they're hanging on every word. And in the background, you just see her fall in the water. And then on top of that, the line of dialogue that he says is, "And then they made me their chief." And that means nothing other than this guy's a crazy adventurer. And then they take that and make that a whole fucking sequence in the next movie, which is incredible. Ugh, I love it. Sorry, I got a little ahead of myself.
No, it was great. My computer froze for a second.
No!
So I got No, it's good. I'm going to assume that was excellent because it probably was, because everything is great. And like, oh, dude, there's so much to it in terms of like the character smithing. Again, they've got, they introduce him as this, it's the quintessential pirate on the mast. Then the undercutting with the ship. There's like, well, no, he still kind of knows what he's doing because he timed it perfectly. And then he's just himself. There's no crew. He's walking straight onto this ship, totally confusing our like everyman soldier guys who are awesome, by the way. They are it is very fun that this film took the time to truly develop two sets of idiots on either side of the line.
Yes, yes.
It's wonderful.
Parallels.
It's one of those things
Echoes.
like for a film or a story, it's wonderful. In real life, you would never expect that to be true. It's too perfectly matched, but it's so fun in the film. Anyway,
it's so good.
And then he's stealing a boat. Like he's in the act of trying to steal this boat from these guys, but he's doing it without even drawing a weapon. And then he watches a woman just fall from a distance, and he's like, I have to go save her.
Yep.
No one else is going to.
Will you be saving her then? I don't swim. It's.
And this film also does an incredibly good job of using that humor to kind of like jab at the people who are in charge. I mean, this is a pirate film, truly, in the sense that the pirates are the ones who have slightly the moral high ground.
Mm-hmm.
We do not approve of the Port Royal, the East India Trading Company, any of those things.
Right on.
They do it just right, where like we are primarily concerned about the fact that especially the East India Trading Company is opposed to our characters. That's primarily what we care about. But then they do just enough to remind us how awful the East India Trading Company also was in the franchise. So we like not only personally dislike them because of their opposition to the character, we also morally dislike them and feel righteous in this dislike of them. And somehow we find ourselves on the side of the pirates who are murdering, thieving, terrible people. So it's great writing. So fun.
Yep. And then the escape sequence is great after Jack gets the handcuffs and all that. That's wonderful. I love that. The sword fight between him and Will, I made a note. I compare it to Princess Bride. I don't think there's been like a sword fight that has captured that fun energy of Princess Bride until Pirates of the Caribbean, because it's a little wonkier, especially once they end up in the rafters. But before that, while Jack is fighting Will, and Will's like almost fighting for his life, and Jack is just completely unbothered, and he's like evaluating him like a teacher's like, you know what you're doing, not bad, but how's your footwork? Like I love it. I love it so much how they're both just feeling each other out.
That line in particular, I think, is a fantastic example of Jack's character because he is unbothered by the fact that he's being threatened by someone. Will does know what he's doing, but he is clearly outclassed, right? So it establishes that Jack's not afraid of like what could be a life-threatening situation, and also that he's much better than someone who is already pretty good. And he is playing with him mentally with the whole like trying to figure out what his skill set is. The same time that he is maneuvering him so they can get closer to the door. Like, let's see how your footwork is so they can move him so we can get to the door.
Like, oh, it's so good. It's so good. And then
he is a master at doing two things at once, Jack.
Yes.
He's able to trick Will into showing his skills so that he can move. He's also able to suss out his like fondness for Elizabeth within the span of that fight. It's
oh, so it is that you found a girl. I really, really love the line, "This shot is not meant for you," because it's setting stuff up real quick. It's a literal Chekhov's gun, but it's also just so it's so cool. It changes the tone, I think, so quickly when you're like really paying attention to it, especially if you've watched it more than once. Because I mean, they explain what that is like halfway through the movie. They don't save that till the very end, but at the moment, it could mean a number of things, like right away, like almost like, especially when you watch them all as a whole, you could just think that this is not Will's time to die or something. Like this shot is not meant for you. Like that's not at all what that means. Like I like that it can mean multiple things. It's a cool moment.
Well, I love that they arm their pirate with a pistol, but the fact that he symbolically, like Jack has almost talismans where he needs his hat. He needs like his compass is a major plot point in the rest of the series. It is in this one too. It's understated because of how much else is going on.
Right.
There's his, and then his pistol in this first one is kind of like a part of that as well. It kind of bothered me when I was younger and being all sort of like, well, actually, I was like, these guys have guns. Why are we sword fighting, right? And then he pulls in and he says, this is not meant for you. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I don't have the answers, but that indicates that there is intention and there is reason why the character didn't just pull out a gun and shoot him, because that would have been the easiest way to get out of the situation every single time. But instead, they established that there is one gun that Jack will carry. There is one bullet in that gun, and he will not fire it unless he can kill someone. And the person he's trying to kill is undead, and he knows it. So he has to save it until just the right time.
So good.
It's so good.
Yes. Okay. And then we get to Jack. Jack is captured and all that, and Elizabeth has been proposed to, and yeah, whatever. Then the Black Pearl attacks. Crazy, awesome ridiculousness. We learn about the curse. We get confirmation of the curse. And the miscommunication / convenience / believable confusion really begins with some housemaid telling Elizabeth that she's being kidnapped because she's the governor's daughter, and her believe in it, and us believe in it because, sure, I mean, why not? We don't know just yet that the gold calls to them, even though we saw the shockwave. We get that. We don't know what that means if we haven't watched all this yet, so we're like, yeah, of course, it's because she's the governor's daughter. That makes total sense. Oh, that's so good. That is so good. And granted, that's clarified pretty quick early on by the pirates during the parlay that there's significance with the name Turner. But it makes sense for her to give them a different name because she was told not to be the governor's daughter, and that creates new confusion, which just pushes everything forward, but it's totally believable, and it works so well. This movie's fantastic.
And even smaller than that, we have excellent things happening, which is like when Elizabeth House is under attack, how does she react? She starts fighting people. She is hiding her servants. She is like getting people to safety. She's trying to draw a sword.
I love that it doesn't come out.
People. Like she is the only. Oh yeah.
Because everyone has dreamt of taking a weapon out of like a museum thing or a display and just going to action. But of course it wouldn't. It's just an art piece, and I love that. It's so funny, but like a believable, perfect funny.
It also maybe unintentionally speaks volumes to the fact that, like, this is not a place that is prepared to fight. She is not prepared to fight either. She's trying, but she's not just at the skill level or the resources yet, right? Anyway, and then when she is finally cornered and it looks like she's done, because again, we do not know that they need, or they'll think they'll need her alive, or that they're going after the gold. She's, held at gunpoint. She pulls out parlay, which surprises not only us as the viewers, because we don't know what that is, but it surprises the pirates, because she knows more about, quote unquote, the pirate code than the average pirate does, because she's a nerd and she's read so many books.
So good.
And then the scene on the ship where she's like completely surrounded by pirates, but she gets all of their attention like almost immediately. The writing there is more or less responsible, but she also identifies what they're looking for super fast and
smart characters.
How she can use it.
Yeah, we love our smart characters.
All of Port Royal, like, dude.
Also, we get our introduction to Barbossa here, and Barbossa has been such a strange character for me throughout my life. Because I remember watching these as kids and just hating his fucking guts. I hated him so bad. Because you get attached to Jack. Jack's our guy.
He doesn't have a lot of guts to
hate.
Thank
you. Actually pushes glasses up. Thank you. My point being, I hated his character because he was in the way of the character I liked. But the older I get, the more I just love his performance, his like motivation, all of it. Barbossa is a fascinating character to me. He's still a piece of shit. I still don't like the back and forth. I don't like the back and forth between him and Jack, but I love his character. It's way more interesting, and I like how he respects the code. And it's you think this is another part, like, as we've said, you have to watch these multiple times because you think he's just a slimy, awful, nasty monster of a man. Because he's like maybe kind of creeping on Elizabeth. Some of the pirates definitely are. But when you watch these movies again as a whole, that was never an intention of his. Granted, he's not being polite, but like,
no,
he does not have that. Like that's not a goal of his. He just wants out of this curse. He has other motivations, and it is absolutely fascinating. And I do kind of wish we could know more about his relationship with Bootstrap, because I wonder if his intrigue with her is because she is, quote unquote, she is his kid, and he's fascinated by that. We don't really get into that at all, the kinship of the pirates and their youths. But it's just, I love the dinner sequence between him and her, and the conversations, and then the just start believing in ghost stories moment is pretty fantastic. Just,
it's so good.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot to talk about with that scene in particular, but I think you're dead on in the sense that like he does feel like a creeper, and he definitely does not rein in the creepers on his crew, but that's not really what's going on, right? Like he is just enthralled with someone who is so alive, right? It's been a while since they've had someone alive on the ship.
And it's maybe hope, finally. Like in 10 years, like a legitimate hope.
Elizabeth, I think, shows life really well. Like the character lives big. She wants big. She's, opinionated. So it's like if you have gotten used to a crew that just follows your orders and they're undead and like there's no like real satisfaction. Nobody in the crew has any kind of satisfaction. Then she shows up and she's negotiating with pirates and she's young and she's maybe the kid of your friend. I think all of that just sort of like comes together to be like, you would be fascinated with that person. And oh gosh, what else? I think kind of go back to like what you're saying about how Barbossa and Jack are opposites. I think it is so smart to introduce a secondary captain pirate character in this story because again, that's not necessarily what you would expect from a pirate ship story. Usually there is like one main pirate ship and you're rooting for the captain on that pirate ship, or vice versa. You're rooting for whoever's going to beat the pirate. But there's one captain, one pirate captain. And in this one, they're like, actually, our iconic pirate captain, Captain Jack Sparrow, he has been dethroned. And the person who is his, like, I guess, the person who took over after him, the usurper, is actually the classic pirate captain. Big fancy hat, has a crew full of goons. He, like, has the monkey. He's
definitely has scurvy.
If he can.
That's good.
But he represents the pirate captain you expected to encounter. And Jack is the one that you don't totally understand. When you first come into this film, you're like, I don't know what's going on with him. It's fascinating and it's fun, but I don't really get it. Yeah. Barbossa shows up and you're like, that's who I was looking for. And then they have a fight. They hate each other. They're catty like girls in high school. It's amazing.
So much. We have to move on just a little bit because we're about halfway through and we're only in the beginning of the movie. So I love how Will and Jack steal the ship. Mythbusters had like a whole episode testing the stuff from this movie and movies like it. I understand that the whole boat underwater upside down thing wouldn't work. I don't give a shit. It is so much fun. I love it. It is cool. I love the whole sequence. And I honestly love the moment with the snooty nosed little imperialistic fuck on the Dauntless. I'm Captain Jack Sparrow. Savvy, the guy who's on the Dauntless that they kick off. Like, he's just such a turd, and I love that they kick him off, and he has to jump out of the little boat later on. But honestly, that whole sequence of stealing the Dauntless to make them get the Interceptor ready to go, and then swing it over to the Interceptor, and then crippling the Dauntless, chef's kisses, all of it. Oh, I love it. I love it. So great. It's got to be the best pirate I've ever seen. And then we best believe in ghost stories. I have my notes here. We get to Tortuga. Cool conversations and setting up some weird, vague stuff about leverage and all that. But we meet Mr. Gibbs again. That's so much fun. We splash him twice because he smells. We never actually learn what happens to Mr. Gibbs, and I kind of wish we would. Because how do you go from what he was in the beginning of the movie to this? I would just like to know just a little bit because it's kind of interesting. Nothing. Not a damn thing. He goes from I'm terrified of pirates. I don't want to deal with pirates. We shouldn't be talking about pirates to being like the second hand on a pirate ship who knows the pirate code, who lives by the pirate way, living on Tortuga, and doesn't have a single issue with it. Like, he's just loving it. What happened?
I would hazard a guess that it's supposed to be a sign of the times because they don't do as much with this film as they do with the second, but it is mentioned in this film that the world is getting smaller and it's harder for people to find, like, for pirates to find open water.
That's the second movie.
That line comes from the second one, but that idea is present in the first one.
That's true.
And I mean, like, you can see it. I mean, it's a little bit established more about just the fact that, like, pirates and the law don't get along. But the fact that there are, like, pirates to hang, that they habitually catch pirates, like, you know, you can kind of see how it's building up. We mentioned that Commodore Norrington is, like, he's kind of what made Port Royal what it is. So, like, there's growing European naval power in the Caribbean at the time. And so I think it's supposed to be the idea that, like, times got bad for independent ships, and Gibbs had to become a pirate, and it turned out it wasn't so bad. So
yeah, it worked for him. So why not? Yeah, I do.
You're right. We don't learn. We don't.
But I do love his character. Like throughout the whole series, he's great. He never really gets to do a whole lot, but it's still wonderful. And then yeah, okay. So what happens after that? We get to the we meet the new crew. We meet Zoe Saldana again for some reason. Cool, good for her. Marty and Cotton are pirates for the rest of the trilogy. They're great as well.
I feel like Anna Maria should have stayed around. I don't know if it was just because she was too big to stick around as a bit part. But like, Anna Maria was a great character that just never shows up again.
Yeah, I have a note about that for the next one, but I don't know why she never comes back for sure. And then we get to Isla de Muerta for the first time, and Jack's plan is going perfectly, and of course Will ruins everything. Excuse me.
He's trying.
he ruins everything, which is kind of what Will does consistently, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Anyway.
In his defense, no one ever fills him in on the plan. He's just doing his best out
but
here.
like after this movie, you'd think he would learn a little bit, but he doesn't. He just doesn't. But that's for later. That's for later. Then we get to walking the plank, which is fun. For me, I know a lot of the pirate stuff definitely isn't real, especially those ghost pirates. I don't hate the plank sequence, but it is the only one where I'm like, they didn't actually do that. Push my glasses up. They didn't actually do that. That's the only time, but I don't care. It's fun. And we get to the island, and then we get a cool moment between Jack and Elizabeth, and we find out that Jack wasn't marooned on this island for who knows how long. It was only a couple of days.
Cool Will Elizabeth parts.
All the cool Will Elizabeth parts? Oh, I don't give a shit about the Will and Elizabeth parts. They don't get interesting until the third one.
Wrong, because they are instinctively pirating this ship in the fight. They know. Okay,
that's true.
Will should really know nothing, but he's the son of a pirate, and we're gonna go ahead and just go with like he can learn on the fly, right?
It's in his blood, boy.
Does know stuff, and exactly. I don't know, genetic memory. Anyway, they are giving as many commands, if not more, than Jack in that fight. And they're doing it so in sync with each other. I mean, they just had a fight, essentially.
Right.
Down
Jack's
under
not even
the deck,
in this fight.
Note, oh, that's right. He's not.
Jack's on the Pearl right now, and these two randos that they just picked up are giving Anna Maria and Gibbs orders, which is, to be fair, like you said, that's weird, but they work it. They work it really well.
Well, and I feel like the below deck scene where they have a moment together after, like, he's like, why did you give him my name, all that stuff, yada yada yada. I think that's the only scene that doesn't really quite strike the right chord for me in this film. I think emotionally it just feels slightly off. Everything else in this film feels like it lines up perfectly well with the experiences the characters have had so far and the motivations of the characters. In that scene, I feel like Elizabeth makes a good amount of sense in the scene, but Will has already had a number of days to come to terms with the fact that his dad was a pirate, and learning from Elizabeth that the medallion is proof that his dad was a pirate shouldn't affect him as much as it does in that scene. The only reason it does is to build up the melodrama between them, but then like 30 seconds later, they're successfully captaining a ship in a fight against a very experienced undead pirate crew. So like, I feel like it's just not quite right. It's the only like whole scene that I feel like could potentially be deleted or seriously edited to improve the film. Everything else is great.
I think you're right in general. I think maybe I would say he's not. It's not that the medallion is confirming that his dad is a pirate. It's confirming that pirate blood, quote unquote, is passed down. They cut her hand and wanted to use her blood because they think that she is Bootstrap's kid, which just means they believe in it. The magic acknowledges that, which means he is a pirate, whether he likes it or not, given the rules that we're operating under. And sure, he isn't interpreting it that like the right way. That the magic is not saying he is a pirate, but the magic is saying that the pirate blood is his blood, and it's just as good. And that, I think, is affecting him more in that moment. That he doesn't know how to deal with that just yet.
Maybe I just think figuratively too often, like by default. But I feel like that was a conversation they were already having. They're like, your father was a pirate, you have the blood of a pirate in you.
No, you're right. But see, that's the thing, is that Jack and him have that conversation. And I think up until the medallion and the cut hand, he's like, no. No, we aren't our parents. I'm not a pirate. It's not that. But then
he identifies with his dad pretty heavily, even though he's never met him. And so the fact that his dad would be a pirate, regardless of what Will does, would be an inherent insult to Will.
Mm.
There's no separation between the two of them for him.
Maybe then he didn't fully come to terms with his dad being a pirate until then.
Yeah. Still, I just feel like the scene doesn't totally land. I could even have him like wanting to talk about the fact that it makes him uncomfortable, but the fact that they just like don't talk about it, and there's like a slight miscommunication thing where Elizabeth feels like he's upset at her and he's just like all caught up in his head.
We can't
poor
pick and
melodramatic
choose.
writing.
The miscommunication is what drives this whole series. It's what everything is built on.
The miscommunication makes sense everywhere else. You just explained why Elizabeth would give her name as Turner rather than Swan, and it's a great piece of writing because, of course, she wouldn't admit to being the governor's daughter if she thinks they're after the governor's daughter, or that it might make her lose some sort of power over these guys. You know, if she's a hostage, then they know they can take her and hold her for ransom. So she plays it smart and just happens to give the one name that they needed to hear to like keep her on the ship, right? Which isn't like a total coincidence because, again, if we're going to go with that destiny idea, she's been lockstep with Will since she pulled him out of the ocean. So I don't know. If we're going to say some miscommunication is good and some is bad, I think miscommunication that is written in a way that makes sense is good. Miscommunication where the only real purpose seems to be to have what essentially amounts to like a second act breakup for the two characters, which they haven't even really been together, doesn't make sense to me. I think that's weird.
That's fair, yeah. And it is also immediately fixed by him, sacrificing, quote unquote, himself, and she's so happy to see him and blah, 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 blah.
Exactly. It's dumb. Like, they didn't need to be there.
That's fair. Let's see here. I do like the line, "Stop blowing holes in my ship." That's very fun. And then we get to, I also, the moment while Will is sacrificing himself, the interaction with Barbossa is pretty great. Like, she goes free, let them all go, or I'll blow my brains out. Like, who are you? And Jack is just desperately trying to keep his plan together because we don't find out until like 2 minutes later. This is a brilliant plan. Everything that he has set up, the dominoes he has in place, the aces up his sleeves, they're perfect. And this scrawny little motherfucker is just ruining everything. But it is so funny to see Jack saying, "Oh, he's no one. And he's like, "My name is William Turner. I'm the only son of Bootstrap Bill." And Barbossa just looks at Jack like, "You son of a bitch. He's been right here the whole time." Like, it's so great. And then, like, "Name your terms, Mr. Turner." Elizabeth goes, he's like, "Yes, we know that one. Anything else?" Like, it's, I love Barbossa. I'm gonna come around fully on this trilogy that I love Barbossa. He's the best.
Barbossa is an excellent character. I have never felt like, because like it would be so easy again for a film that's supposed to be about pirates that has two pirate captains in the first film and they're like fighting over a ship and one of them doesn't even really feel like a captain. It feels like he could be a distraction or kind of feel unnecessary maybe at times. But he is perfectly written, dude. He the fact that he exists means everything works out the way that it's like supposed to. The fact he adds another layer of complexity to all the motivations, right? Like Barbossa and the crew single-mindedly want to get rid of the curse, and so that's what they're driving to do the whole time. Elizabeth and Will trying to save each other, more or less. There's more to it, but that's basically what's going on. Jack trying to get his ship back, which means he has to manipulate everybody else so that he can try to get his ship back, because he's got no crew really to work with. I mean, he does eventually build a crew, but like they're a part of his plan to manipulate everybody so he can get what he wants back. And then we haven't even talked about like Commodore Norrington and what Port Royal wants and all that stuff. It like the whirlwind and network of character motivations in these films, particularly the first one, I think, is crazy. There's somebody always wants something else, but it's written in such a way that you have to mess with the other character's motivations in order to get it. And so there's just constant like bickering between all of them because they need each other or what the other has in order to get what they want, but they never quite line up on what they want to accomplish. It's great. It's so good.
It's so good. It's so good. But now we're on the island, and we're learning more about Jack's history and the lies and the rum and all that. And we talked a little like off recording. I really wish they would have included the deleted scene where Elizabeth confronts him, asks if there's any truth to the stories, and he just says truth and just moves his shirt a little in 3 different places, and he's just covered in these incredible, dramatic, wild scars. He's got like bullet wounds in his chest. He's got a burn on one arm, the pirate burn on the other. Wild. And I don't know why they didn't include that. I really don't get it. I wish they would have.
That'd be good. I also find the interaction between Elizabeth and Jack on the island very interesting. I don't necessarily think it's bad writing. I'm just not crazy about the whole like kind of love triangle they set up between Jack, Elizabeth, and Will, because I think it's very clear from the beginning who she's going to end up with, right? And so like any attempt to confuse that or frustrate that ultimately feels kind of silly. But I could see, 2 stranded people on a desert island. What you gonna do? And Elizabeth's over here Elizabeth's like, I will burn this place down before. And it's genius. And I also think like Elizabeth just started working with pirates. She has no reason to be as confident as she is, particularly after the horrifying experience of being on the Black Pearl with all the undead folk, right?
Yeah.
So she and Jack had a weird relationship where the first time they interacted, he saved her. Second thing that he did, held her hostage. Didn't hurt her though, apologized for it, but held her hostage so that he could escape. And then
the next time that they see each other is during the fight. He just comes out of nowhere, which is pretty jarring. And now they're on an island together.
Now they're on an island, and she is not afraid of him. Like, she could be, again, stranded on an island with a pirate, but she's not. And I think there's this weird level of comfort that Elizabeth has with Jack because of that first interaction where she's like, you're not going to hurt me. And also, I'm pretty sure you'll never be smarter than me.
Right. We do
and
all
that's
of that.
Debatable,
yes.
But Elizabeth surely thinks she's more intelligent than Jack is.
Right. I mean, like, to a degree, I would almost argue that they're probably on equal footing. Because Jack is, in this sequence, Jack just isn't trying. He's given up. His final, like, piece to play has been played by someone else, so there's no point to it anymore. Like, he can't do anything. And it's an earlier bit of the same sequence that, again, is considered a deleted scene, where Elizabeth actually walks around the whole island. And it's Jack says as much, like, it's not that big, is it? And she confronts him. It's like, you were going to trade Will's life for a ship. And he's like, we could use a ship. But the fact was, I wasn't going to trade his life for a ship. Because as long as Barbossa didn't know who it was, I had something to bargain with. Which now no one has, thanks to bloody stupid Will. And she goes, oh. And he goes, oh. And that's when he walks off and finds the rum underground. And it's just, I appreciate maybe the directors or the writers thinking the audience is smart enough that we don't have to spell that out. They'll figure it out as the movie goes on. I kind of wish they would have included it, because not only does it help explain it for those who aren't necessarily keeping track, but it shows that Jack is like fully on the level, had a plan, and is not just giving up, but he's pissed. He's pissed in this moment. And I would like to see that, because if we see throughout the trilogy, Elizabeth is brilliant, absolutely, but Jack is also brilliant, but it's when he's trying. It's when he cares. And on the island right now, we have Elizabeth in full-blown escape and survival mode, which is great. And Jack's just whatever, man. What are we gonna do? I can't get my ship back. There's no point to it. We can't get anywhere. So like, who cares? Her plan is awesome though. I remember that since seeing it. If I'm ever stranded on an island, just burn everything down because someone will see it. Probably.
I mean, it depends on where you are. She is in trade routes, so that would definitely work. If you're like in the middle of the Pacific, you might just burn up your only resource. So think that through first.
Fair. Yeah. Sure.
But no, you're right. And I think it's a fantastic, again, character moment because Elizabeth knows her value to the people around her because she grew up as the governor's daughter, right? There's a bit of privilege that smacks in her character, but it works in such a way that like when she takes advantage of it, it just makes sense. We don't get mad at her for it. She's like, I am a person with a position of power, and I'm gonna occasionally use that, right? And in this case, it saves her life and Jack's life. It's also just like not something that Jack would have ever thought of because no one is gonna come rescue Jack. There's nobody out there that would spend a bunch of time running around trying to rescue Jack.
Right.
Third movie, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
And then, and so like to take what Jack is planning on doing for the rest of his short existence, drinking, and just use that to burn the whole island to get somebody's attention. It's only something that Elizabeth would have done in that moment. Like even if it had somehow, for some reason, been Will on the island with Jack, I don't think they would have gotten away.
Yeah,
it's only because
not.
Elizabeth realizes the situation that she's in and takes advantage of it. But she has to like get him drunk first, and like she kind of outmaneuvers him. Now you're right, he's not really trying. But I like that scene with them on the island. I love watching that scene because there's so much going on with the characters. And it's in an isolated space. Like what can they do, right?
There's also you mentioned that Elizabeth maybe has like a higher level of comfort, maybe either due to their previous experiences or knowing that she's smarter than him. But we also get in dialogue, she knows who Jack is. She's read about him. But of course, before the internet, you don't have a face to put to that. So she doesn't know that's Jack when he's saving her and then threatening her, she knows. But like, this is more interesting now. It's probably, granted, you're reading about a pirate. They're not going to write him well. But you could probably read between the lines between the pirates like Blackbeard and the pirates like Jack Sparrow and Captain Barbossa and so on and so forth. So I wonder if that adds to her level of comfort, is she knows who this is. Maybe as a pirate fan, she has her favorites, and maybe Jack was always one. Who's to say? We don't know. We don't know. She references a bunch of his adventures. She's into this. She knows this guy, and that's interesting. That's very interesting.
We probably don't have time for it right now, and it might even come into play more later, but I think looking at how Elizabeth has her first real interaction with pirates from Barbossa and how Will learns from Jack, I find that to be super interesting because I think Jack and Elizabeth have a more similar natural approach to things, which is to analyze the situation and make a choice that's going to get people to land where you need to land. She's used to manipulating people because that's what a woman had to do in society to do anything. And Jack is used to doing it because he's just so often on the out. And yet, like, Will and Barbossa are both, like, more single-minded, a little bit more, like, focused and driven. The interesting thing, though, is because Will learns under Jack, he tends to have a more almost bouncy, cavalier approach to piracy. Like, he the flair and the dramatics and the almost like friendship that being a pirate brings in is what Will tends to focus on.
He's a chaos junkie pirate, whereas Elizabeth becomes a fantastic leader. And I love that because, again, skipping all the way to the third one, her amazing moment is quoting Barbossa, which I like that he flags, no pun intended. So like, we'll come back to it. But like, your analysis of that is brilliant because they do kind of pick up on the uncle pirates that adopted them and continue in their stead.
The ones that impact each other. Well, Jack is, I think, equally impacted by Elizabeth and by Will because he gets more one-on-one interactions with them.
True.
But Barbossa is also impacted by Elizabeth. Like, he, the whole, like, guidelines, pirate code thing, it's interesting that she kind of starts that again, or maybe she sort of like brings it to the culture or something like that. I'm not even sure what the right phrases would be, but like she teaches Jack the like bottles of rum,
Yeah, the
really bad
song, the
egg,
pirate song.
yo
Uh-huh.
ho song. And so again, it's this weird situation where the governor's daughter is teaching pirates about pirate culture or knows a lot about pirate culture and the others don't. And it's almost her presence in the story that brings more structure and more of
Mm-hmm.
that classic piracy stuff
Yep.
to the pirates.
Mm-hmm.
Weird,
It's
but
so great.
okay.
She was
Like
destined for her role in the end. So great. Okay, so we're almost done here, and there's only a couple more things to really talk about. We have they're saved, and they make the deal, and she accepts Norrington's proposal to go save Will and all that. Sorry, I think my favorite part of the whole movie is when Barbossa is doing his big dramatic speech again, and here's Jack. Again, they just marooned him on an island with nothing, and he's just, hey, excuse me. It's like, how? What? How? Like, I love it. I love it so much. It's so funny. It's so
it's
like it's like if I were Barbosa, I'd always be like, I kind of just want to quit at this point. Like, what the fuck do I have to do? How do you keep showing up? Like it's so great.
the undead pirate army that is bothered by this pirate who just won't die. They're the undead ones,
Yeah.
and he's the
they're
one
like,
that just
that's
keeps
impossible. It's
showing
like,
up.
it's improbable, but not impossible. It was fine. Ain't no thing. I was there for less time than I was last time, honestly. And then, yeah, I love how he smacks the one guy's hand off his shoulder too, which is just, I don't know, just little things. And then the plan, and the negotiation, and the manipulation, and the immortal fight, all that's great. And this the scooping up of the coin, so smooth, so brilliant. Ugh. I honestly, granted I was a child, I did not catch that the first time.
Oh, I did.
And I was confused when he turned into a skeleton. I was like, have you been like this the whole time? Like, I didn't catch it. And then I watched it again, and it was like, oh, that cheeky devil. Like, ugh, so good. There's
I was. It sounds like I was a little bit older than you were on the first watch,
probably.
but I was old enough to realize that the fact that we were getting a camera shot of just his hand picking up the coins was like, okay, he's gonna keep one of them. And honestly, from the moment Elizabeth thought she was gonna die over the coins, my thought was pocket one. And it was crazy to me that it took this long for someone to do that.
Yeah. That's fair. There's just one issue with that moment, and it is honestly, for me, the only problem of the whole movie. Not a perfect movie, by any means, but like the only thing that I can't ignore or yada yada away. And it's strongly implied throughout the whole movie, but it is explicit in the secret ending. Did you catch the secret ending?
That's the monkey going back and taking the coin, right?
The monkey takes a coin and immediately becomes a zombie monkey again because the chest of gold is lit up by a hole in the ceiling, and at night that can only be done by the moon. And Barbossa is standing in that light the whole time, and nothing happens. And Jack takes the coin in that light, and nothing happens. And so it's the one, for a beautifully layered, wonderfully written, Shakespearean even, shall we say, written movie with great acting and great action, there is one glaring plot hole, which is where this cursed Aztec gold is. It is lit by the moon, and people keep putting their hands in it and taking stuff, and nothing happens. Not a damn thing until that fucking monkey. Because you could argue some sort of weird magic thing, or there's a fire up there until
delay,
that little
whatever.
But until that little fucking monkey comes back and takes it and shows plain as day that the moonlight there would affect him. It's the only thing. It's the only thing that I take issue with, because it is a glaring miss. It's like just the one. Because then the immortal fight is pretty badass, and it's very fun.
And the way that they're able to keep you entertained in a fight where no one can really go down is kind of impressive.
Yes. I almost think more impressive than the fight just by itself. Watching the ghost pirates walk along the bottom of the ocean, walking under the shadow of the ship, and phasing in and out of cursed and uncursed form, that is eerie and beautiful. I think the Corridor Crew guys did a breakdown of that, which was amazing. Definitely worth looking into. Love it.
It's the way that they treat the undead army in this film. I expected it to look a lot worse coming back to it like years later. Like, this is a 2003 film.
I know.
But it holds up.
It does, yeah.
There are a few things that are slightly like seamed, but everything looks really good. Like, there are things you can tell are not real, but it doesn't look like we just kind of threw a kind of like in the computer version of we cut out a shape and glued it on the image, right? Like, it doesn't look like that. It looks like it's an intentional part of the surrounding world. And that's really impressive. I think it looks so good. And the choices they make were like, they're walking underwater and
so cool.
The cinematography of the whole thing, and we haven't even really talked about the music.
I was gonna say Hans Zimmer. The music is brilliant. This is one of the best like soundtracks. Period. Top 10, I would argue. Top 10 of all movies ever. I will stand by that. Top 10.
I would probably agree. I'm not as versed in soundtracks as you are. I love them. I just don't listen to them outside films more often than not. This one I do. I put several songs from these movies on my like study playlist or my non-lyrical music playlist. And I think what's excellent about it is not only is it a unique sound, not only does it give a perfect vibe to the pirates and the way that the world feels, it also is it matches the mood of the scenes. It looks like the orchestra and the conductor are watching the scene and truly like fitting the music to what is happening in the scene. It feels as matched with more artistry, but it feels as matched as a Sunday morning cartoon. Like, it is frame for frame, note for note, like right there with what's happening in the story. And that's really what makes good music. Slightly off topic, one of my friends and I were talking about this today, actually. Really good music for a story is developed in tandem with the story. And I feel like that's what happened here. It's just so in step.
Love it.
So in step.
And quickly, the escape sequence is great. The little moment with Norrington at the end is, like, honestly, looking at this as a whole now, the only cool moment from Norrington, if we want to be really, really honest, as a whole. We haven't had a chance to talk about him. I don't hate him as a character. I think he's actually great, I was going to say, and we'll have to talk about this more honestly in the third one, because when you watch this and you just like watch it kind of for fun, you're like, damn, Norrington, and then damn, Norrington, that's rough, and then you're like, damn, Norrington, no, not Norrington. But when you really pay attention, this motherfucker causes almost every issue in the whole movie, and he's a creep. He's a full-on creep, proposing to this woman who he knew as a child. Creep. All creep. I like, the only moment that I like is he knows that Will made the sword. He can tell. And I like that he acknowledges that. I genuinely do. That's a cool bro moment. Anyway, movie ends, all that good stuff. Love it. Music plays. Love that. The last couple of minutes, I just wanted to ask you. Some people get shot, and the curse is lifted, and they're fine. Others get shot, and the curse is lifted, and they die. I don't know the real rule. I have my interpretation of how it works. What do you have? What do you think the explanation for that is?
Cannot think of all of these examples off the top of my head. I know what you're referring to. I just can't think of all of them, so I don't know if there are any counter examples that would invalidate this. But by and large, I would expect if the bullet passed through the skeletal body and then they became normal again, they'd be fine. If the bullet got stuck in the body, like stopped on a sternum or something like that, and then they came back to life, they would die. That's kind of how I've been interpreting it.
I think there's too many wounds that would then keep up. My interpretation is every time they go through the moon, it's like a reset to where they were when they were cursed. So for Pintel, when Barbossa shoots him, nothing happens because he then, they go through the moon and come back. But Barbossa is shot, the curse is lifted, but he, like, nothing has changed. Like, he has not gone through the light again. So that wound is there. when the curse is lifted. Same thing that happens for all the pirates on the ship when the fight's going on. Some of them who have been wounded and are either in the shade or have like a sword in them at the time, they go down. Others who have been moving throughout the light the whole time, who have a clean slate, if you will, when the curse is lifted, they're fine. I don't know if that's the real rule. I just think that's the only thing that works with what we are presented.
Mm-hmm. It also makes sense with the way that they sort of portray, like the other general body functions you would expect of the pirates with like actual bodies, because like there are times where drinking something just goes straight through a person's jaw, and there are other times where the body seems to function more normally when they're not in the moonlight. So I think that makes sense with that idea as well.
Cool. Well, that is our time. 'Tis a whale. Absolutely 'tis a whale.
Clearly.
'Tis a whale. Excited for the next one. Gonna hop off. We're getting right to it because we're doing these back to back. So have fun. Thanks for listening. Bye.